Hey everyone, it's JP here again with Meats Patent Customs. We're going to take on the next project on this. Like I said there last time, we got a frame under this thing. So what comes next? We got to start getting a floor in this. See right there, I have one piece of sheet metal here. So we're going to start getting a floor in this and cross members in, and carry it on here to try and get suspension underneath this thing again and get it moving. So now the winter's kind of set in here. I actually had to put, if we look here, I had to put big boy pants on today, so no more shorts. But it was a good run. You know, made it to mid-November and didn't have to, could keep the shorts on. So you can't complain about that, especially up here. So yeah, we're gonna start, I got some 18 gauge here and I'm gonna start getting the floor and moving forward on this some more. As like I said, it's winter, so we can just lock ourselves in our shops now and build some cool stuff. Just follow along and let's get going on this. What I got here is a piece of 18 gauge, just cold rolled, no sheet metal, nothing special. So how I start this off here, I lay it out in a flat area. The biggest thing is laying things out. That's when you start, is laying things out, measuring stuff up. But before I start, I clean this all off because, as you can see, it's got stuff on it. And it's got a slight oil film on it so it doesn't rust. And if you don't clean it, you're gonna go through Sharpies. You'll go through Sharpies like freaking crazy because they get an oil film on it and you're throwing them away. And as you know, Sharpies aren't cheap anymore, and we have a hard enough time not losing them. So either use brake clean, lacquer thinners, whatever you want, and just spray it down and clean it. And get that film off. And because like I said, you'll go through, it'll eat a freaking Sharpie up in no time. And stuff isn't cheap anymore. The other thing I do, once I wash this all down, is I grab my orbital, about 120 grit or whatever, and I sand it. And I just run it over. You can even use a Scotch-Brite pad, whatever you want. And I sand it. Reason why, it's easier to sand it now before you start dimple dyeing it, breaking it, and then when you go to paint it, undercoat it, whatever you're going to do later on, it's already roughed up. So you don't have to worry about missing something. You got paint peeling and everything else. So it's just what I find easier. It's easier to do a flat piece and sand it. And like I said, even just use a Scotch-Brite pad. Just put some, just rough it up a bit. That way, when it comes time to paint and prime it later on, you know your little grooves are done. And then when you run over after you do it, you're a lot more confident in it because you are going to sand it later on, but you don't have to really worry about getting into all those grooves which eat your fingertips and everything up. So that's just what I find. Like I said, everyone's got their own way to do stuff, but that's what I find my best way to do it. But anyone got any other ideas or any tricks, tips, anything like that, comment, leave a message. So I'm just gonna finish cleaning this up and run the orbital across it and we'll start laying some stuff out. Okay, so what we're doing here, we're going to do this piece here, right in here first. This is at the top of your chassis here. It's going to go over to the side. So what I got the old Sharpie. Actually, it's not a Sharpie. This is a Milwaukee, not a Sharpie. I thought I'd try these out, see if they last any longer. I think they're all about the same. So, and then got myself the old beer case cardboard for writing on. So what I want to do, and then end up having to go from here. And then you're gonna break that up because you gotta kick up over the coil over mount and then go back in, back here. So you're actually just gonna make the piece from here to here right now. So what I end up doing is measuring it. So eventually there's gonna be pieces over here. We're gonna have pieces over here on the side. So you make this piece a little longer. We're gonna trim it up later on. We're sort of fitting this in right now is all we're doing. So it's just sort of measure this up for now. So you're about 46 1/4 is what you are. So what you got to remember, when you put these pieces inside here, it's going to bring you in a bit, so you'll be able to trim that up later on. And that once you do that, And the biggest reason why I'm doing this right now, because your side piece is also going to end up having to kick up here. So I'll end up making this piece, and then make the side pieces. So then you'll trim these up a bit. And so then the other thing you want to do is just measure right in here. Right in here. Measure. And it's probably going to be about the same, because you're coming inside there. So you can make that square, so you'll be 46.25 because you're coming inside here. So back to my beautiful artistic talents that we've all seen before that are freaking terrible. Just do it rough. I guarantee you by the time you get over there, you'll forget your measurement. So 46.25, side to side. And then make your measurement here. So you're gonna wanna go from your coilover bracket. So from your coilover bracket to your edge here, you're 14 and a half. 14 and a half. Now, you're gonna put a brake on this piece. Eventually is what's gonna happen. So remember, you're putting that brake on. So you're probably gonna want 1/2 inch brake. So now you're adding another 1/2 inch to that. And then from that 1/2 inch, you're coming out past here, because you actually want to probably leave yourself on this kick down 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So if you have to move this chassis at all forward and back, or move the body, you have that little bit of room here, because you're sitting tight here, and which is fine, because that sets your body level height, and we know we're all good because we've clamped that. But if we have to move things just a little bit, it's back to, we're not building a friggin' Rolex here, folks. So leave yourself some room here. Honestly, I'd probably leave 1/2 inch from there, because you have the room. Leave that there, so you have room to move things back and forth. 1/4 inch is still, you're pretty tight, so I'd leave 1/2 inch. You got the room, and so add another 1/2 inch here to come off here, and you're gonna break that on a 90. So you're actually gonna end up in total. So you got a 1/2 inch coming out here, and then you got another 1/2 inch. So basic math again, folks, basic math, you're gonna leave another 1 inch there on that. So add that, another 1 inch, and we're gonna go back to basic math. All you kids at school, stay at school, because you need that algebra. I have no clue what for. So 15, so 16 inches is what you want up and down. So now you can take this all back over there where I had that piece laid out, and you can measure it all up, and then we'll cut all this and fit this in here, and then we'll figure out where we're gonna put some bead rolls and that in it to strengthen that piece up. So that's where we're at right now. Let's transfer some measurements over. Okay, so another thing I do before I start laying everything out is I grab my square. Make sure your corners are square. Make sure you are square. Just because it's been sheared off doesn't mean you're square. So if you happen to find out, say this side here is out and this side here is good, then take all your measurements off the side you know that's square. And that is what you end up doing. And it just makes your measuring easier, is what it ends up. So I check all my corners, you know, 90% of the time it's all good, but you have that time where it's not, and you'll start cutting, and you'll start laying stuff out, and it's usually when you start laying or run your first bead on your bead roller or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, this is way out to freaking lunch. If you notice on this one here, right here, I got a dip where someone, when they sheared it, didn't clamp it right or clamp it down, and it's got a dimple. So what I'll end up doing, my measurement will all come off of here, is where everything's going to come off of. I'll come off this side in these corners, because chances are I'm cutting that off of there, and I won't end up using it. So I'll just come off of here, and this area will be, you know, just a smaller piece where you don't need that piece. So, because I'm going to use quite a bit of this lengthwise. So that's, I don't know, that's what I do. I said back to you, you can do whatever the hell you want. It's up to you. They're your cars. That's the joys of building hot rods. These are just things I've found to make life easier, because it really, really sucks when you oh, when you get almost ready to put this piece in, or you put a whole bunch of time and effort into it and find out she's all cockeyed and not squared up. So that's, if you notice, I've sanded both sides of this, so that's, so I'll end up just wiping that off here so we don't have all that ugly film and everything on it. But yeah, that's where we're at now, so we're gonna lay all this out. Tool review here of tools that make your life easier, especially when you're in a small shop and you can't afford the shear and all that sort of stuff. So first off, I got this fancy tool right here. What this does is measures the gauge of your metal, and mine's actually on my keychain. Usually I have a whole bunch more keys and that, but when you go to your metal places or wherever, or you got I got a bunch of metal sitting there, this is a gauge. It tells you your gauges. So if you look here, it's got all your gauges. I can't see right now because I don't have my glasses on. But all you got to do is just take it, you go like that. So it'll tell you your gauge. I'm blind as blind can be. So this is 16 gauge, which I knew already. But I have these available. Actually, I have a few left. So you know what? You comment you need one, I'll send you one. And so all you gotta do is comment and say, yeah, send me a gauge. These things here are handier than a freaking pocket on a shirt, let me tell you. Because you don't need to carry a tape measure and stuff. It even goes, oh, what do you got? 2.5 inches here. So you can go in and you can, takes a bit, but, so it measures your gauges, measures, like I said, I have mine right on my keychain. There, so I got a few of these still left floating around. So if you're interested, comment that you want one. And I'll get a hold of you and send me your address, and I'll send you one out. The other thing, so we're working in a small shop, and trust me, I would love to have a stomp shear. You know, they're great. Can't say they're not. They are handy. Don't have one. Don't have the room really for them. So I bought this electric shear, and for us up in Canada, it's from Princess Auto. You guys down the States, Harbor Freight, many people manufacture them. These things here are handy. Especially when you're doing long cuts that you're dreading doing with tin snips. And personally myself, I have small hands. Yeah, I know. Save the comments. I get it. And using tin snips for me to cut that long on 18 gauge is freaking tough. Yeah, you can do it with a cutoff wheel and that. You know, then you're making dirt. You're freaking got dust all over the place. It sparks, fire hazards, so on. I purchased one of these shears, man, and I have used the shit out of this thing. And I highly recommend it, especially if you don't have room for a stomp shear. Stomp shears are expensive too. But yeah, they're great. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to have one. I don't. So that's what I use. That's what seems to work for me. The other thing, you know, you're saying, oh, your cut's gonna get out here a bit. Yeah, but you know this is straight, this is straight, and this is straight. So you know that going in, because we measured our 90s off earlier. So you know you have two straight edges that you can take all your measurements off of later on in life, if need be, including when you're breaking it and everything else. So, you know, that's just my thing. I'd rather do it this way, and I'm gonna get a straighter cut with this than I'm gonna get with tin snips. So that's just sort of a tool review there. But like I said, if you want one of these fancy gauges, just comment that you want one, and then I'll get a hold of you and we'll get your address and I'll get this sent out to you. So let's get this cut up, and then we should be able to fit it and start laying some stuff out on it. Okay, so we got that all cut out, and like I said, that tool's great. It's quick. It's clean. We don't have dust everywhere. You got all these nice things. If anyone knows what to do, an art project or anything, I have a ton of these. So if anyone has a nice little art project, hit me up. I could send these to you because I really have nothing to do with them. But yeah, everything. The other thing, keep all these scrap pieces, because we're just starting a floor project, so who knows when you're going to be using those up. But just grab your sander and sand these edges, because with the shear and that, you'll end up with like a sharp edge on there, which I like to call them widow makers, and they'll cut you like a razor blade. So just take your take your sander and just run it across there quick, so you have a nice round edge. The other thing I end up doing as well is I'll mark the edges I know are square, and that on here. So when you're laying it out, you know the edges that are square, because sometimes once you get going, you don't know the ones you've sheared off, or you know, cut with your shear and that. So just cut the ones you know are square. Just mark them. Just give it a little arrow like that. Like that, you know those ones are square. And then you can take all your measurements off those. So I'm just gonna sand these edges and I'll start laying some stuff out. We got the piece all cut, it fits. I had to trim these corners here up just a little. I just had to notch them here just a little bit to get it to sit down in, because you remember this here is gonna break. That's gonna break over here eventually. And but I don't, because we're gonna bead roll this. So I wait to break those, because it becomes a pain in the dink to do it after you break them. So now what I'll do, now that that's all sitting in there, is I come underneath here, and try and roll my creeper. If you ever want to find a zip tie or a small screw, get on a creeper, because it'll find it for you, because it stops rolling. And but right here, you look underneath here. And that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my Sharpie. I'm going to mark this frame rail. Just like this. Same thing here. Same all the way around here. The reason why I'm doing this, because then we can lay out where we want to bead roll this and not get into messing yourself up with frame rail and having your bead roll sitting over top of your frame rail, which ends up in the end, it looks like hell. So there, that's marked out. And even while I'm under here, I'll mark this edge on the outside of the frame rail. I haven't decided if I'm going to do anything out here yet, but while you're doing it and laying on your back underneath there, just frickin' mark it. Make your life easy, because you only want to climb underneath here once. Even this outside edge here, where it's eventually getting broke and everything, just mark it. Just like that. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just put bottom. Just like that. Just put bottom underneath here. That way you know that's the bottom when you start working it, because once you start laying stuff out and you start working things, heck, that's a great angle, and start working things, you start forgetting where things go. So right on, you know, bottom, stuff like that, and it just helps out later on. So we'll pull this out and we'll start laying stuff out for bead rolls and stuff, and start doing a little bit of math 101 again. So I got the piece pulled back out, sitting on the bench here. The other thing you notice right here, I wrote front on here. So you got front, you got bottom. So it keeps everything straight, like I said. So up here, if you remember, we're breaking this 1/2 inch from that edge. So what I got to do is measure 1/2 inch in here. Then I'll remark this line here. And then we'll start laying out what we're going to do with the bead roll. And how we're going to bead roll this all nice inside here. Like I said, I haven't decided if I'm going to bead roll out here yet. In this area, if I do, I'm going to leave a fair bit here so you can still trim it up. But I probably will just put a nice little, I don't know, put something nice in here to bead roll that, just to finish it. You know, finish it and strengthen it up a bit. And here's another thing, and I did this, and if I cut myself, this is on me. Get rid of those widow makers. Do not leave those there, because they're going to cut you wide open. You're going to bleed like nobody's business, and you're going to be mad at yourself when you do it. And worse yet, if you cut someone else, you actually deserve a punch in the mouth for leaving them. So trim those off. Those are right up there with freaking zip ties that guys don't trim off, and you stick your arm in somewhere and you get opened up. So cut those off. And it sucks. The other thing, you can round your corners too a bit if you have to, but those are the freaking worst. Don't leave them. So we'll carry on. I'll get this measured up, And by the way, don't punch someone in the mouth. That'll get you into a lot of trouble. But have a stern conversation with them if they do that. So that's what will take place now. Like I said, I'll move this down here 1/2 inch and start doing measuring. I'll end up coming in here 1 inch is what I'll end up measuring in here, is 1 inch over, and then mark that for your bead rolling, because you don't want to be tight up against here in case you have to move anything, but you want your frame to sit nice and tight in there, and that is what you want. And it's going to stiffen up this piece, because if you look right now, look how easy this is moving around. She's it's got no strength, but as soon as you start putting beads and that in it, it strengthens it up. So that's what we'll do now. So we got this all laid out here, but like you can see, we got a whole bunch of freaking lines that confuse the heck out of you. So if you notice, I put little arrows on the ones that we're following. So what I used for a spacer, I actually just used this. I just used my ruler and more or less just went like this, and that's my spacer that I used. So what I'll end up doing is, I don't need these chassis lines anymore in here. I'm going to end up, I'll erase all those out so it doesn't start messing up your eyes, because when you start bead roll, your eyes are they get messed up pretty quick. So what I'll end up doing, like I said, I'll end up we'll erase a bunch of these lines out of here, and but the other thing I'm going to do, so another trick I found, so we all have those old Sharpies at the ends on them. They're like crayons and they're wide. What I find for bead rolling, I mark my stuff out with those, because it's easier to find the center of your bead with the wider tip marker. So we've all got those ones that we can't do fine lines with anymore. We end up throwing them away. Save them. I find they work great for bead rolling because they're fatter. You can get it in the middle of your bead, and it's an easier line to follow. I don't seem to lose it as much. I'm also old and half blind, but that's a whole other topic in itself. But like I said, I got the fine one here that's a brand new one. They don't last like that very long. But like I said, this one here, it's pretty beat up, and you're not measuring to cut. You're measuring to bead roll. So that's just a little trick I found. We're gonna round these corners off, is the other thing we're gonna do on here. So you get a nice round, instead of trying to get this square that looks like hell, because you can't join them up nice. So we'll, what I use for that is, it's actually half decently easy to find. I use these, and you can buy these at any, any store, like up here at Staples, craft store, any of that, and they're nice because they have your centers. So once you join these lines, you can, you can make a nice round on here. So what I end up doing, I'll use the biggest one. So you have a big, so it gets around easier. You want to use these tight ones, you think, until you try to get this thing around. Another thing you can use anything to make that circle. Sort of whatever you want. And all you do, say you're using a grinding disc or something, you just measure down here on your corner, and just grab your tape, measure down, say 2 inch, over here 2 inch, and then just line up your circle all nice there, and do it on all of them. You'll have all nice circles going all the way around. Just a little trick. The biggest thing with bead rolling, dimple dies, all that, is your layout time. Layout time takes the longest. Once you get rolling, it's not that bad, but it's your layout time. Take your time on your layout. Think about what you're doing before you do it, because look at your lines, double check your lines, make sure they're right, because man, it sucks when you get to your last bead roll or whatever and you find out you missed on a line by ½ an inch. You're following the wrong lines. If you're unsure, like I said, put arrows. When I'm chopping tops and I'm doing anything, when I'm taped, I put an arrow where I'm cutting, because nothing's worse when you cut on the wrong side of the tape. You got to re-weld it, or worse yet, you're throwing it over there in your scrap metal bin because it's good for nothing. And don't make your life more miserable than it has to be. So I'll get these circles lined up, and then we'll go from there. There we go. Now it kind of makes some sense here. What's going on now that I got rid of all the lines? So there's what we're going to be doing. Frame rail's going there. I marked front on here again so it doesn't get confusing. We still have bottom marked on here. I still got my arrows and that, but yeah, there's what we got going on. So that now that makes a bit more sense than the whole thing I had going on here. So I'm just gonna, like I said, get my bead roller set up here, and we'll start bead rolling this up. So here we go. We got the old school hand bead roller. Nothing fancy. Not one of those automatic sit down ones. We got the old school hand crank one here. And that I took my dies and I actually put them on the lathe and just sanded them down to make sure they're all nice and flat. Make sure your dies don't have any marks in them, because it'll leave marks all the way down while you're bead rolling. So make sure those are all nice and clean. The other thing, take brake clean thinners or whatever, and make sure you got no oil on them. Clean them up all really nice, and make sure they're nice before you start doing it. So I just put this in my vise. My vise actually pivots so you can move it around, because eventually I'm going to hit that wall. So then I can start turning it and stretching my arm out. This is good for stretching. It's you know, if you don't go to the gym, if you don't do your stretches, doing this is great. The other thing this is really good for is for your marriage or whatever, because if you have your significant other running that handle and you're guiding it here, I hope you have a good relationship, because they better be able to read your mind. And yeah, if your relationship isn't strong and good communication skills, this will fix it. This will definitely fix it, because the person on that handle needs to know what you're thinking over here while you're turning it and while you're moving it. So it's good for marriage counseling or ending marriages. Depends how you want to look at it. So it's I've learned to stretch my arm out and do it by myself. The other thing, if you notice, I didn't break that yet. Reason why, you start breaking it, you can't get it in this opening here. So I've learned over time, I wait to break them. I do all my bead rolling and then I break it afterwards, because if you break too big, you can't get in here and it's hard to move stuff around. So it's something I've found over time, is break it later on. You can do whatever the heck you want, like I said before, but that's something I've found the best way for me to do it. So yeah, let's start doing some bead rolling. Okay, so anyone wondering, this little tool here will try your patience, but I'll be honest, the slower you go and set yourself up, the better it works. Don't be in a race. Just be relaxed. And even with the power ones, don't be in a big hurry and that to get stuff done, because you're gonna end up getting lines crooked. Think your moves out too. Think in advance, which way you're gonna go with everything. Don't paint yourself into a corner. And I'll be honest, I could do this for about an hour, and then honestly my eyes are just bugged right out of my head, and you're seeing double and triple and all that. So you know, don't be thinking you're gonna do this for 8 hours straight. Don't be thinking you're gonna jump on this tool and you're gonna be doing the stuff you're seeing online, you know, your first time out. It all takes practice. You know, go get some old metal, go get, you know, and run your dies and see what you can make. You know, it's you don't, I don't know, one of my sayings is get good and then get fast. If you try to get fast and then get good, I don't want to break it to you, you're never ever going to be good. And that, because you're going to come up with a product that is going to look like you did it fast. So, you know, you see these guys online that have done it for 20, 30 years. You know, were taught by masters. And, you know, you think you're going to be that after one video? Heck no, you're not. So don't get discouraged. Just keep plugging away at it. And, you know, each time your work gets better and better. But like I said, this tool is a tool in patience. And you know, you ever want to test your relationships out, this is the tool to do it with. You let your significant other run this handle while you're trying to feed it. You'll know if your relationship's good or not. So hence why I do it. Hence why I'm doing it myself. So there we go. So that little conversation that I just had with you, that ran. We got one line done there. So there you go. Hey, there we go. We got that all bead rolled up, and then I got the piece all sitting back in here. I decided to go with the bead pushing down because it's easier later on when you go put all your crossers across there. I didn't do over here yet because I'm not sure on what I'm doing there. I might end up breaking this piece here up and going into the side piece. So I'm a little bit longer, so I can, is what I may end up doing. I haven't decided yet. So I'm holding off on doing the bead rolling on there yet. But there's what we got going on there. And then when you underneath there, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see we got it in there. So now it's just got to be broke around. So once you break that around, that'll get rid of a lot of the warp and that you see like that. It'll straighten it out because it'll strengthen it up even more. So it'll be good. It'll be good in there. So I just have a few. Once I get these side pieces in, then I'll decide what I'm going to do there. I'm breaking that up, and whether I'm going to do some beads in there or not, I haven't decided yet. So it's marked out. We'll go from there. So that's what we got going on. So that's kind of your basic on how to make a floor pan. So there'll be a bunch more of that going on, and yeah, that's basic on how to do it. So you just keep slugging away and making them. I find if you can make your pieces about that big and piece it properly, makes your life a lot easier than fighting with a great big 4x8 sheet and trying to make it fit and everything. So there's a whole bunch more panels here to make for the floor. But that's pretty much your base. That's what you do. And you just keep doing it. But like I said, be patient. Take your time. Get good, then get fast. Biggest thing is your layout. Lay it out with a marker. And make sure everything fits nice, and then go from there. It's layout huge. Don't hurry your layout, and make sure you leave yourself lots of room to work. So I'm just going to carry on with building these, and if you like these videos, like, share, follow, subscribe, pass it around to your buddies, and you know, in the messages, leave me a message if there's anything you want to see me do. On a car, that is, to you know, to help you along. And I'm always open for suggestions. And everyone have a great day. Get out there, build something cool. You know, like I said, it's winter, but get out there and build something cool anytime. Doesn't matter what you like doing. Make you know, it keeps you busy hands. So everyone have a great day, and get out there and build something cool. Bye.